Thanks, guys. We'll have some opening comments from Coach Doege, and then we'll take your guys' questions. Coach?
Yeah, thanks for welcome back. Thanks for having me. I'm super excited about this group. We've had 2 days now in spring ball. We had a obviously exciting first couple of days. Obviously with no pads, the new rules of going spiders the first couple of days to try to keep them fresh and not have a whole bunch of people on the ground without padding. And so I thought our guys have learned how to practice well and still play fast. So it's been a lot of fun. We've had a ton of energy out there, and like I said, I'm really excited about the offensive unit. So on top of that, we have a coaches clinic coming up tomorrow and Saturday that we're really excited about having some local coaches come in. I think there's somewhere between like 140 pre-registered, so we'll have a ton of numbers here, and that's exciting because it was a big turnout last year, and it just kind of shows the excitement around the state about Arizona football. So with that, any questions?
All right, guys. So this is unlike last year, you had an influence on the transfer portal and the guys that you wanted to bring in. So with that being said, what was that process like for you, and what did you make of just the guys that you were able to sign?
Yeah, I think we addressed some needs, and the portal's interesting because you're speed dating, all right. And then the one part I love about the portal is what you're getting, because most of the time the kid that you're signing has played college football versus signing a high school kid where you're trying to project. So in the portal, what he can do and what he can't do. You know his limitations. You know where the development piece is still at, but you also know where his strengths are. You know what he can help you right now with. And it was a lot like last year. It was a lot like last year where we're trying to find the right pieces in place for what we're trying to do this year. And I felt like, okay, what do we need? We needed with the departure of our freshman running back, we needed to add another running back just from a number standpoint. So we added Antoine Roberts, where he worked with me at Marshall. The truth is, here's the story on him, is I knew he was an unbelievable teammate. I mean, this guy is one of the most liked guys on our team right now. I knew that. The reason I felt like okay about taking him is, one, I knew that. Two, right before he got hurt at Marshall, I remember telling our running back coach, Telly Lockhart, that, hey man, this guy might have something, because I've seen him like 4 or 5 days into like camp, and he was starting to flash, and then all of a sudden he gets hurt, so I never got to truly see him develop into what he is. But he's a big back that has some athletic ability, that can run, and like I said, he's smart, he's tough, and the best thing about him is he's like an unbelievable teammate. So whatever role it is, whether it be the starter or he's the third back, he's going to come in and be part of what we're trying to do. And then from an O-line standpoint, I think going into, pre-lotto getting to play, you're sitting there trying to figure out, okay, we probably need to go find a real left tackle. And the progress that Lotto made from the time he started really playing in games until now gave me a little bit of an insurance of like, oh, this dude might have something to him. But I also felt like we needed to add some depth pieces or potential guys to come compete, right? Which you add Nate Hill, who's played in games, and then you add Jake Griffin, who didn't play much at BYU, but he practiced in Big 12 league practices. So you knew he could go up against those matchups, and he had obviously practice film to prove it. And then obviously the biggest is trying to replace KD up front. We have Grayson coming back, so we'll give him opportunity just like we did last year. But I felt like we needed to create some competition in that room, and Zach was a major piece to that. And getting him was a big time win for us, because we were competing against some big time players in that. And I think he's going to be really, really special. And then you go to the receivers. The receivers, we had a DJ Jordan Ross, and then Rodney Gallagher, who, my favorite thing about Rodney is when you're losing a special group like we lost, like with Hutt and Luke and Watt, like how it's hard to like say like, oh, you're truly going to replace that. Well, Rodney and Luke are so similar. Like they're both like great workers. They work their tails off. They attack everything they do. There's just a little bit difference in their game. Like Luke is straight line speed and just going to run through a wall for you, where Rodney has a little bit more feel of space, okay? But they're both bulldogs. They'll try to run through you. And then like looking at K Hutt, like how dynamic he was in and out of like the breaks, like all the snap routes that we threw him on the perimeter on third down. Look at DJ Jordan and how explosive he is in and out of breaks. So you kind of replace some skill with like guys that we're really excited about. Now I'm not ready to crown them yet because we still got a lot of development work to do. But for the most part, the guys that we added, I feel like fit us, and I'm excited about those guys. But I'm really excited about the returners because those guys in year 2 have made major jumps. And I'm talking about Brandon Phelps, arguably had the best winter of anybody. And like it's hard for me not to bet on him because of how well he progressed through the winter. Trey Spivey, everybody knows how talented Spivey is, and if he can just get consistent, man, this guy's probably an NFL draft pick. And so he's had a tremendous winter. Gio's had a tremendous winter. He doesn't look like a freshman anymore. Chris Hunter is healthy. He really wasn't healthy all year and still made a lot of big time plays for us. So he's healthy and he's running again. And then Doege is an animal. Tristan Bounds, even though he's limited right now, has made some huge gains in his weight and his strength. So I'm just excited about having those year 2 players back in a year 2 system.
Can we grab this really quick?
Yeah.
Colin, is that magnetic or can you clip it on?
You can just put it on the lower kind of portion there.
Sorry, man.
You can just drop it on the.
Yeah, just on the lower portion of
I just rest it right here.
Okay. It's not working. Just put it right there.
Yeah.
Thanks,
Okay.
Coach.
Yeah, man.
And then with that being said, the receivers that you added, I mean, Watley and Hudson and Weissong, those guys came in with a ton of snaps. Rodney Gallagher has played a lot, but
Yep.
guys like DJ Jordan, Jordan Ross, maybe not as much experience as those other guys.
Yep.
So what are you expecting out of them?
Yeah, I think obviously, like you said, they haven't played a ton of football, but I do think they're extremely talented. But I also felt okay bringing in talented guys that hadn't had that much experience because of what we were bringing back with Spive, Gio, Chris Hunter, Phelps, Mizell. Because even Mizell, I mean, he was a freshman last year and should have even been playing. Debatable. Skill-wise, he's fast enough, yes. Mentality-wise, he was a freshman, okay? But when you approach him now, totally different type of mentality. He looks better, he looks thicker, he's stronger, and he's still fast. You know what I mean? That's just called development. And so adding those guys that, you're losing Weissong, you're losing Watt that had real production, and you're adding Rodney, who's played in Big 12 football, which I love. And like the best text I ever got was from Neil Brown, and he said, "Hey man, that was one of my favorite players that we had." So like a guy that's coached, a head coach in the Big 12, that tells you like, "Hey, you just got a good one." That makes you feel good too, right? And then like I said, watching DJ and Jordan and how explosive they are, it was just something that I feel like we needed to add to the room, even though they didn't have a ton of experience.
And then as far as Noah's development, you guys have had a year together. What has it been like just going through a whole cycle with him? And then how do you think that continuity can set you guys up for an even better year?
I don't know how you get any closer. Our relationship is about as tight as it can be. I completely trust him. We're talking some elite level football right now with each other, which is a ton of fun. He's the best quarterback I've ever been around. That I was telling, I can't remember, I literally just talking to somebody outside at practice, and during the pro day, he was 100% and he was throwing strikes, at the pro day. Obviously it was 4 of those other guys, but Noah put on a show too. And it was just fun to sit back because like during practice, you're constantly coaching. I might be coaching Sawyer, Luke, or I'm coaching a receiver, I'm watching a tight end, and I really don't pay much attention to Noah because I trust him so much. And in the pro day, you're sitting there watching him, and it's almost like you're pinching yourself like, oh, this kid's really special because he's so talented. And he's so talented because he's worked at it. He's earned that right to be called talented. But our chemistry is, like I said, I think it's unmatched. I trust him completely. You're never a finished product, whether you have 12 years in the league. Those guys are always working on something to get better at. For us, we just got to consistently, his drop mechanics and being on time with the football on specific concepts that we're trying to implement that might be a little bit different than what we did last year, just trying to master those, trying to get him outside of the pocket just a little bit more because I do think he's elite on the run. and just stuff like that. And honestly, I do think, getting under center every now and then to, get into different type of double calls where you can run the football, can, check out to a play action pass or have a play action pass check into a run. I think he has that ability to do some of that stuff. So we can mix, that kind of game into our tempo spread, if you will, and really cause people problems because he can do it. I think that's what allows us to do it, not because we want to do it. I think from a coaching standpoint, you want to do what's best for your personnel. Well, our personnel allows us to do that. Our personnel is Noah Fafita. He allows us to do a whole lot of different things because he can handle it. Now, if you have one of those younger quarterbacks in there, yeah, they're repping that stuff, so they're having to expedite their learning curve, which is awesome for those guys, and they haven't blinked. But if you happen to play a younger guy, you're probably not doing as much, And so with Noah being the experience that he is, to have all the game experience, being the leader, being tough, and us being on the same page allows us to do a lot of different things.
As far as offensive line goes, Rhino potentially moving inside. What was that conversation like, and what do you think he can do at that guard spot?
Yeah, and we kind of had started those conversations like during the bowl week. I think just because part of it's like recruiting your own roster and making sure that they understood that you have a vision for them to get better and to play. All right, and we felt like there was times that Rhino kind of struggled on the edge last year, and I think it had a lot to do with his confidence, coming back from a knee injury, and then, the K-State game was kind of his first game, which was a real game with real people on the D-line, and he had some moments where he looked like his own self, and then he had some moments where it was like, oh no, am I ready? And I think that kind of shook his confidence a little bit, and just looking at his skill set and how strong he is, how explosive he is, it just seems like he's a better fit at guard. And we felt like if we could move him to guard, that replaces a need for us anyways, losing Chuba, and we feel really strong about that move. And that was something that we talked to Rhino about, and Rhino was on board and felt like, and he kind of saw what we did with KD. We recruited KD here to really be kind of a swing guard tackle for us. Realized that we had a need at center, so we bring KD in and say, hey, man, I think you're our best option at center, and if you trust us, you might have a chance to get drafted. Well, all of a sudden, he's got a chance to get drafted. And I think this is the same thing for Rhino. Like, if we put Rhino, you're on the edge. Would you be good on the edge? Possibly, if we get to continue your development. But if we put you inside, it probably should give you a better chance to play longer. And it's probably more of a natural fit for you. And he agreed. And so, he's bought into it, and I think it gives us a little bit more depth inside, for sure. Now, the good thing about Rhino is you could always swing him back out, which is huge.
And then as far as left tackle goes, Bounds, Lotto, how do you guys just look at how you guys are going to?
Yeah, so right now we're going to kind of try to position Lotto there and see if he can take it, just because Tristan is so comfortable on the right. And I've been really, really pleased with both of those guys. I mean, I'm going to tell you these stories, and I don't want to get long-winded here, but my view of off-season and the way it should be approached has changed a little bit, and really because of last year. Okay, last year we go into spring, and Cam Barmore, we take him as a receiver, trying to transition him to a tight end. We get out of the spring, and we're like, I don't know if he can truly do it. Okay, we keep developing him, we keep pushing reps toward him. But we went and got another tight end to replace him too, okay? He kept buying in. He kept trusting the process. So you got spring, you got summer, he got fall. Well, next thing you know, 4 games into the season, Cam Barmore is our best tight end. And then at the end of the season, you could argue he might be the most talented tight end playing. Like, he was the most productive tight end, okay? Then the same thing with Tristan Bounds. We take him from Michigan, and, he has limited tape, but we needed, from a price point and in the market for a tackle and all that stuff in the portal, he kind of fit what we were looking for and the price point we were looking for it at. And we had to beat some other guys on him, but he decided to come here, bet on us. And coming out of the spring, it's like, I don't know. I don't know if he's our right tackle. I don't know if he can do it in the Big 12. You keep force feeding the reps, force feeding the development. You got a guy to start to believe in himself and start to believe in the coaching and take the coaching. And next thing you know, it's hard to argue that Tristan Browns might not be one of our best tackles this year. So the development part of the offseason is so huge. And Lotto's a great example too. Early in the season last year, offseason, in the spring, summer, and fall, you were like, if we have to play with Lotto, we're probably in a bind. We probably need to use some like chips and some edge. It's trying to help me out with some tight end chips and some running back chips. Well, now he's kind of taking this whole ownership of I am the tackle. And you can see a different confidence with him. You can see a different mentality. You can see a different approach to where it gives me a ton of confidence. It's like, okay, let's put him out of left and let's see if he go get it. Because right now, I bet a lot of money that he will.
I have 2 questions. I'm sorry. Tight ends. How do you look at that group and just the collection of guys that you bring in on also the guys that you have coming back?
Yeah, so obviously you guys know how I feel about Coach Miller. I think Coach Miller is one of the best I've ever been around, and I trust him completely. Especially from what he did for Sam and Cam. I mean, that was a lot of him. But we identified Cole early in the portal. We got on him early, and we're lucky that we did, because at that point, if we waited any longer, we probably couldn't afford him, okay, because there was a lot of people coming in on him late. I'm really excited about him because he kind of fits the entire skill set that we're looking for. 6'5", 245, 250 pounds, moves well enough to be an impact player in space, but also has enough about him to do the run game stuff that we're going to be asking him to do. And then he just fits the culture, and he fits the guys. Like, the guys love him. It's like he's been here forever. And then having TP come back is going to be huge for us, just because, he was the starter. Going into game 1, he won that job. So, if you look at it, it's almost like we're getting our starter back. He just didn't get to play last year. And then adding like Shane King, Henry, like both of those 2 youngsters are really, really, really talented. If you were to watch Shane and Henry run, you wouldn't think 6'5", 6'6", 235, 240 can move like that, especially being as young as they are. Now they got a ton of work to do, because that position, you're a receiver, you're a tight end, you got to know the run game, you got to know the pass game, and then you got to go block somebody that's 2 times bigger than you are and expect to win. So that position's so hard to truly develop, and it takes time. But I'm really excited about those 2 young guys. Obviously, Kellen Ford's coming back, and then Arthur has been a pleasant surprise for us. He didn't play a whole lot at San Diego State, but this dude has completely bought into what we're preaching, what Coach Miller's preaching, has made tremendous gains over the winter. And I would be surprised if Arthur doesn't put himself in a position to play, just because he does everything right, exactly how you want it, and he's probably more talented than you give him credit for.
And lastly, you got a contract extension in the offseason. What did that mean to you after a year of being here to get that extension? Yeah,
it was a dream come true for me, but this was where I wanted to be the whole time. And I truly love Tucson. And I know that's like, some people, obviously the Tucson natives are like, yeah, Tucson. But then there's a lot of people that come visit Tucson and be like, I don't love it. I do. I love it here. I love the people that I work with. I absolutely love Coach Brennan, and I respect him. This guy, I know they don't make many like him. And he allows me to grow. He allows me to be myself. He allows me to do what I want, but also encourages me through some hard situations, some hard circumstances. And I don't know if I could find a better head coach to work for. And so I'm super excited about being here. And again, with Noah coming back, it was, it's just a no-brainer to be here. I want to finish this with him, because I think he's going to leave a legacy that's going to be hard to ever try to match. So I'm excited about the people here in the building. I'm excited about being here, and I'm really excited about the potential this team has.
Thanks, everybody.
Thank you, Seth.
Yep.